Okay, hold on. I'm putting it on thinly. Hold on. Because you need it on the whole back, right? Sorry about the noise. It's like I just got home from work, so it's chaos.
It's always chaos.
Babe, please.
Matthew says they don't read the contract. You can see how fast they click and book and then sign it a minute later after they pay the deposit, which I agree with that to an extent. I think it kind of depends on the particular customer, because I have people that will ask about the contract itself, and then I have people who just sign it and never, bring it up. So I think it really varies on the type of customer that it is and really what they are. Something really interesting is a attorney rented from us a couple of weeks ago, and I had made a post about it. She had offered to rewrite our contract because she said she wanted to make it sound more friendly so people would be more apt to sign it. And I was like, it was like almost $2,000. I was like, I've never had anybody, say that they, aside from like a school or something that just wants a clause pulled out. I've never had anyone say that they won't sign the contract. So I think that is few and far between. Daniel, I see your message. Give me like 2 seconds and I'm going to try to get the meeting password real quick. I'm by myself tonight, guys, so I apologize for the multitasking that's going on.
Okay. I'm doing that too.
And I was like, it's mom life, it's
always
entrepreneur
I know
life.
I'm cooking dinner right now while I'm listening.
Love it.
That's very good. Very good.
Daniel, I sent that password to you. Let me know if that doesn't work. I'm going to try to keep an eye on the Facebook side as well. I should have invited somebody over to help me, but it's all good. Okay, so I'm going to start screen sharing, and you guys may or may not be able to really get a good look at this, but let me. Can you guys see the contract?
Yes.
Okay. So yes. Have already messed it up. So there's that. There we go. Okay. So just I'll go over like briefly mine, and then we can look at other people's, or we can talk about things that you should add. And we will take questions as well. So the first section is just your general provisions. This is very similar to a release of liability. It's a shortened version, but we have them. I don't think that copied right. We have them kind of separated, and then we have probably one of the most important things, because this seems to always come up, is a clause about attendance, like whose responsibility is it to staff the unit or, man it or whatever. Is that the renter's responsibility, or is that the company's responsibility? So what I found is you have to be very clear about that. If you do end up staffing, you're opening yourself up for additional liability, and you should be charging a premium rate for that. Attendance should be 18 years or older. Nobody should be under the use of drugs, alcohol. So really important things that, you may or may not have. Sorry, I'm reading this like backwards because I shortened it. So I'm like, God, this doesn't even look right. Really important things that you may or may not have that you should add. And then just terms of rental, give them the expectation that somebody can get hurt. Risks include, but are not limited to, falling, slipping, crashing, colliding, burning, cutting, breaking bones, injuries to eyes, nose, mouth, limbs, illness, disease, emotional distress, death, or property damage. Those are all things that, you know, in reality can happen. So the more that you can educate your customer, or the more that you can have them sign to acknowledge, the better off that you're going to be in the event of a lawsuit, or, you know, or if you go to mediation or whatever. So you've said, hey, I've done, you know, all these things. I told them all these things, and they proceeded with, you know, the rental. So there's a portion of responsibility for me, and there's a bigger portion of responsibility that they are taking on. Concessions, you know, get it all out there. Extremely hot cooking surfaces, hot liquid, high speed rotating cutters, you know, the leathers on the cotton candy machine. You can, I love it, Greg. So yeah, loss of digits, vision, broken bones. Again, like all of these things that can happen, that you just want to make them aware of. And most people don't read this, but if they sign off on it, they're acknowledging that you at least, you know, gave them this information. Something else that most people probably don't have in their contract is something about the use of tables and chairs, like a weight capacity, not, you know, don't use them improperly, don't stand on them, that kind of stuff. I would just add a little blurb in there. Harmless, that goes back to my release of liability. Very similar wording there as well. We do let them know that we do have liability insurance, and what that is. If they hire a subcontractor, or we subcontract out for someone, we are not responsible for that subcontractor. Always educate them about, in the event of an accident, injury, or emergency, you want them to cease operation and give you a call immediately. If somebody gets hurt, or the slide collapses, or whatever, it is realistic to think that, you know, within that same day, that those people will reach out to you and let you know. If they don't, then that is kind of like a strike, because they've signed acknowledging that they're going to communicate with you. And if they don't, they lose a little bit of credibility. That actually happened in the last lawsuit that we had, is that we were never made aware that anybody was injured for almost a year. So I thought that that was crazy. Again, we let them know that we have liability insurance, but they should not rely on it. We don't guarantee any equipment to be free of cosmetic, manufacture, or any other defects that may affect the safety or operation of the equipment. That was a big one for the mechanical bull injury that we had. It was actually deemed to be a like a product liability issue with the design of it, or a design flaw. And so in that particular lawsuit, we were held 33%, like 33.3, I think, percent responsible. The manufacturer was held to the same level of accountability. And then actually it was at a rodeo. So the fairgrounds where it was at took the other third. So that was a really kind of different scenario that we were used to, but it did help lighten the blow, you know, when we came to renew, that it wasn't, you know, like 100% our fault.
Were you found at fault for the ones that didn't even notify you that there was an injury?
We ended up paying, I want to say it was I would have to go back and look, but I made a post about it. I think it was $5,000. I think she was awarded $20,000 or $25,000, and we only paid $5,000, if I remember correctly. And that was like, no, I mean, there was like no, we did everything right, but we were just, you know, the business that rented the equipment. So it was kind of a bummer, but that just goes to show that, you know, the waivers, all that kind of stuff really, you know, are just pieces of paper that you hope deter people from suing you.
Oh my God.
I do have my payment and cancellation policy here. It talks about deposits, rain checks, in the event of bad weather. I have no idea why this keeps like moving. What our refund policy is as well. Then the next section talks about that we have the discretion to not leave equipment based on unsafe location, ground conditions, inclement weather, or any other reason that we ascertain. This is so sorry, guys. I'm like trying to fix all these typos. I don't know what happened. Always do as much as you can to control the situation, because it's your equipment, it's your business. You know, if you go set up somewhere and you don't think it's safe, you want to have that expectation set already. You can just say like, hey, in my contract, page 3, line 4, you know, we reserve the right to not set up. Setup requirements, we set the expectation of electrical outlets within 100 feet. If they don't have access to electricity or something like that, generators are available for rent. If there is no suitable location, we will not set up and there will be no refund given. Let's see. We acknowledge that landscaping, yards, decorative lawn fixtures, other related items may be damaged as a result of the use of any equipment. We're not responsible for that. And then setup requirements, what you require, that they need, you know, you have to have anchor points available. We ask the renters to provide sufficient night lighting. We give ourselves a window. So we reserve the right to deliver rentals up to 48 hours before the party date and pick up to 72 hours after the party. That is really just like in case of an emergency, you kind of have, you know, outlined that on paper somewhere instead of like trying to verbally communicate that, you know, like 4th of July, if there's a bad, you know, rainstorm or something like that, give yourself a buffer that, you know, so nobody gets upset essentially. Let's see. This is, so I look like I totally jacked this up. Something that is missing is, I have a better version, so I'll fix it and then I'll send it to you guys. Something that is missing is about power lines overhead, gas lines, you know, sprinkler systems. That is usually all in my contract as well. And then overnight rentals, we set the expectation that they're responsible for the unit until we pick it up. So there's no, you know, kind of disagreement about that. Anything that I leave overnight, I send a revised contract that reflects the overnight time period, just to cover myself as well. And I think that is about it. I will stop sharing and then I will open up to questions. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah,
Jenna,
so sorry, I didn't want to interrupt someone.
Let's see. All right, let me look at let's go through the chat real quick. What do you think about adding an extra page to sign at pickup saying that there were no injuries or incidents? You know, Matthew, I guess, I think like for us, most people aren't home. I don't necessarily know, you know, I mean, I would probably seek like legal advice, but just because somebody signed something doesn't mean that they can't come back and say like, Joey just twisted his ankle and we thought that it was going to be okay, but then we ended up taking him to the doctor and it was a fracture, so it kind of goes back to it's only good as the paper, that it's written on kind of thing. Chris says the only issue I can see is that it puts it on their mind and they may wonder why. It may be opening up the idea to people that hadn't thought of a frivolous lawsuit. Yes, Danielle, I will share a contract. I probably won't share it tonight. I can share the success kit for Event Hawk. There is a version of the contract in there, my contract, but it doesn't have a few updated blurbs. Overnight isn't in there. The table and chair clause isn't in there. And I think there's something else that's new, but it's a good, solid, resource to start and then kind of read it over and then, add your spin to it for sure. Okay, somebody had a question. I know Jana had a question, and then there was a male voice that had a question as well. So whoever wants to start.
Jana, I got a
mine. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, now the question I had about the contract, right? Basically what I do when I go to contract, I point out the most highlighted points that the person understands, because everybody don't read, but it's good to let them know exactly the highlight points so they really understand and really can't come back on you and say they didn't.
So I actually have a on delivery, we have, as long as they're there, we have them sign a acknowledgement. And it kind of goes over, like you said, the kind of the highlights of everything, the really important things that they need to know. So I agree with that 100%, because a lot of it is fluff, but there are rules and stuff that you want them to know, and abide by. I put the link to the success kit, which has my release of liability. It has my customer acknowledgement, which is what I'm talking about right now. And then it has an older version of my combo, or not my combo, of my contract as well. So you guys should be able to see that too. What other questions do you guys have?
Mine was actually on the tables and chairs. Like, what sort of, if you had, whether or not you had an agreement that they signed for it, or you just did like, because I've rented tables and chairs and they literally just had a receipt of like the cost and how many tables and chairs you rented. Like there was no anything else on it, so that was kind of my question, if you had anything on there about them being liable for damages or anything like that.
It does say that there is that they're responsible for repairs, damages, missing equipment. The majority of my little blurb about tables and chairs is just proper usage, weight limits, not standing on the chairs, not standing on the tables, or putting too much weight on them. Because the last thing that you want somebody to do is like say, oh, Michelle sat in the chair and fell back and broke her arm and all that kind of stuff. And then you just not have anything about tables and chairs in your contract at all.
Yeah.
Amy,
Okay.
yes. Great question. If you're already an Event Hawk member, on the left side of the dashboard, there is a tab that says Success Kit, and pretty much like all of our documents and stuff are in there. We actually have a really cool wind graphic as well. I think you guys probably have all seen the old school one. It's I don't know, it's like light colors, and I don't know whose it is or where it came from, but we decided to have one kind of revamped because we didn't want to be sharing somebody else's stuff without their permission, and I can't find a source. So hopefully either tomorrow or maybe Monday we'll put that out as well. And I'm excited about that because I think it is a good resource too. Let's see. Chris says, Danielle, I don't know. I do not, unless it's somewhere I've been to before. I don't know where their other underground sprinklers are. Electrical for garages, pools. I don't want to chance them wanting it elsewhere and then wanting to move it after we leave. So Danielle had asked, do we ever set up if no one is there? We actually will do contactless delivery. I don't like to do it, but if if push comes to shove, we'll do it. But we get everything in writing, like where they want it. We ask for a picture, some kind of marker, whether it be a chair or a bin or something in the picture. So we have a good idea about where the customer wants it. And then we let them know that we're not going to come back to move it. So real clear procedures if, in the event somebody isn't home and we have to set up. Let's see. Anybody else have any questions?
How do you find out when where the person's irrigation system may be so that you don't damage it?
Normally you would ask them, they would know. Well, sometimes they know. And if they don't, normally you can see the sprinkler heads. And so you would just kind of have to use your own best judgment. Something else that I don't remember if it's in my contract, but I should add, is that you ask them to turn off their sprinkler systems for the duration of the rental. There's nothing worse than coming to pick up a unit, and if it has been there for a day or 2 days and it's just totally soaked because their sprinklers have kept going off and it's just soaking it. Next question, anybody? Guys, you're all here. There has got to be more questions. I don't believe for a second that nobody has anything to say.
Sorry, I got busy. So I'll have it on mute. How does the contract differ when you do the multiple day rentals? Is there anything really different in there? Because you mentioned you send a revised contract when they do overnight.
It really just outlines the whoops, I'm so sorry guys, I'm trying to find there we go. It really just outlines the duration of the rental, and my contract reflects that as well normally. Every once in a while we'll come up with an instance where we have to leave something and we weren't expecting it, but we always try to update the contract to reflect the the rental period, because again, like I said, let's just say like Sally's contract says her party's from Friday to Saturday and you're in a car accident, right? And you can't pick it up until Monday. You don't want Sally to come back and be like, you never set that expectation. I can't believe you left this at my house. My grass is dead, all that kind of stuff. Even though her her invoice says one thing, your contract says another, and Sally agreed to the terms of your contract. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely does.
So I would highly recommend adding some kind of verbiage in there, giving yourself a little bit of time in case of an emergency. I am really trying to see these comments on Facebook, but I feel like I'm failing. So damage waiver, is that something you put in place, or the insurance? Should a parent of every participant sign the waiver? I'll go with the insurance or damage waiver first. I charge, I want to say 8%. It is it is pre-checked as yes on my contract or in my checkout process. It is optional if they want to remove it, but is an auto yes upon the checkout. And then basically that just covers, you know, unintentional damage. That's a gray area, but for me, that is like a ripped stair, a ripped handle, a busted seam, you know, something is probably like more wear and tear is, you know, something that was a slice or a cut net or something like that. And it really just gives people the peace of mind, and it gives, you know, it kind of sets the expectation of like, hey, take care of my equipment, you know. So
So
that's go ahead.
sorry. You said 8%, so like 8% of the cost of the unit is what you charge for damages, or
8% of the rental total.
okay.
So like,
That's why I was kind of not knowing what is a good amount to charge, you know. I mean, obviously it also depends on the extent of the damage.
when I factor in damage, like if I'm gonna, you know, charge someone or whatever, usually I just charge them exactly what the repair facility is gonna charge me. I don't charge for my time. I should, but I don't, because most people are usually cranky about that anyways. But usually I'm doing good to get them to pay for whatever they did wrong.
Have you
Let's
ever
see.
had a unit damaged to where it was not usable afterward?
I have probably 2 4th of Julys ago, we had a unit that was like sliced. It was like at a party, I guess. I don't know. It was like an 18-year-old, I don't know, party. His parents were there, and a fight broke out. Luckily, the police were called and they notated like all of the property damage, and the slide was one of them. So the lady actually ended up buying us a brand new slide. And then
wow.
out of the goodness of my heart, we had the slide repaired and we sold it, and then we gave her a little bit back. Because I felt bad, but like she did the right thing, and so I wanted to reward that right behavior as well. Matthew, I have had the opposite with the damage waiver. I mean, hardly anybody asks us to remove it. And when I made it auto, like, yes, my sales went up. So I'm not sure, you know,
ours too went up.
yeah, I'm not sure what it is, but maybe it's the wording on yours or something like that. You may want to look into that, but I've had, you know, I was very hesitant about it, but I've had it for the last two years, I think, as auto check. The sheet you give them at delivery, should that be signed by the customer then on paper, or is it okay if we add it to IO and have them sign it on the phone or tablet at delivery? As long as they're signing it like at delivery, at receiving the equipment, I don't think it matters if it's electronic or paper. You just want them to know or to acknowledge receipt of the equipment, that it's in good, usable condition, you know, clean, whatever. In the event of a chargeback, you need to show them taking possession, because in your contract that you have them sign online, they're just agreeing to the terms and conditions of your rental. They're not actually ever acknowledging taking possession of the equipment. And so Square, my credit card company, payments both said that we need to show something signed of them receiving it. So just like you got a shipment with you know, you picked up your jump orange shipment, you signed the bill of lading. Same thing, like when you get a delivery, you're signing receipt and you're inspecting that equipment. So that's something that you really should do, especially because chargebacks are super common these days. People are like quick to say, I'm just going to do a chargeback.
Is
So
yours
I would
electronic?
I'm sorry.
Is yours electronic?
Mine is actually, well, mine is paper, but I do have an electronic version that I send out through Square. I don't even send it through IO. I send it through Square if they're not home, just because it was easier for me to manipulate, and I can literally just send them a link and it's linked to their credit card deposit. So it's good because Square is my merchant. So when I have them sign that receipt of delivery, it's linked to either their deposit or their full payment.
Interesting.
I'll try to make a video of like how to, it's super easy of how to do that. Stephanie says she needs me to show her. I just started doing that like a few months ago. Tariq was making fun of me, but I was like, dude, listen, like I'm trying to, I had a charge back and I was like, it's $500. And I'm like, hey, what can I do to prevent this from happening? And I didn't have, I had like them sign my acknowledgement, but at that time, my acknowledgement didn't really have any, I mean, it's just, they signed off on a rule sheet. You know, that's what the credit card company, they're like, that's just rules. You're not saying like, hey, I delivered this to your house, nothing. You're just having them sign, they agree to follow the rules. We have no idea whether the transaction actually took place, you know, or anything like that.
Did you have pictures of the setup at that time too?
We had pictures of the setup and a signed contract.
And they didn't go for that?
Nope, have to have a signed receipt. Yeah,
Good to know.
crazy. Yeah, won't make that mistake again. Let's see. Super poor city, they already complain about my price, asking extra fees lowered by my conversion rate. I did understand that, Matthew. I'm kind of like in a weird area. So, you know, sometimes I feel like most people make fun of me because they think I'm like super cheap, even though I'm more expensive than anybody in my market. But other operators are like, oh, you're way underpriced. But I'm literally the highest around here. So there is that. Anybody else have any questions?
How much
I
do
do.
you charge for distance, like when you're doing out of town? Or like I called Summer in my town, and they say they only will deliver it in here in town, you know. And I don't mind venturing out a little bit. I don't want to go like 50 miles plus or anything, but I was just wondering what is a good fee to charge for.
We charge by zip code. Again, we're in a relatively small market.
Uh-huh.
So I think most people that I know charge by mileage, but for me, I don't even know if I service 20 zip codes. So it's really easy for me to calculate like what my minimum order should be and what I want to charge. But I charge pretty much anywhere from $10 to $150 within about a 25-mile radius.
Okay.
Matthew says, I lost a $1,000 chargeback with geotag pics of the units in their yard and the signed contract last year. I get proof of delivery every time now. Yeah, my chargeback was $500 and I had everything that you had, and they just basically were like, yeah, sorry, you need proof of delivery, and that will be a game changer. Do you need to notify your insurance company when you modify your contract? That's going to be up to your insurance company. My insurance company only cares if I modify my release of liability. They don't really care as much about my contract as they do that release of liability.
I have a question. If you have only like concessions going out, do you have a contract separately for that, or do you just send them the whole thing with that concession blurb in there?
I send them the contract with the concession blurb, but I also have them sign on delivery a rule sheet and a little like disclaimer saying that we showed them how to use the unit and that kind of, and warn them of the damages or dangers or whatever.
So when you're doing this, are you like prepping your delivery team with all these papers that they have to do, or is this an automatic process for you guys? How do you manage that part of it?
So I'm super old school and I'm old, but on delivery, they sign 2 or 3 things. 2 or 3, maybe 4. So they've already signed my stuff electronically, right? But on delivery, they're going to sign my release of liability again. and they're going to sign my customer acknowledgement and delivery receipt. And so that is combined into one document. If there's a dunk tank, I require them to sign the dunk tank information on, even though there's part of it in my contract. I have a specific like rule sheet that they sign on site for the dunk tank because it's considered high risk and it affects my workers' comp. So my workers' comp wants something signed on delivery, essentially. And then the concession piece as well. They sign, off of it on the contract, but we'll staple it to the other papers if there is a concession going out. Normally, I don't do it for I don't do it for snow cone, but I do it for cotton candy, popcorn, and hot dog, because hot dog is boiling water. Cotton candy is just hot and dangerous, and so is popcorn.
So after you get your delivery guys bring it back, where do you file all this? Do you just have like endless file cabinets? How it?
We have file boxes that will write the month and the year on it, and then so they put them all in there, on a weekly basis or whatever, and then we just store them and keep them for 7 years. We could probably get away with like 5, but we just like stack them up so it doesn't. Better safe than sorry.
Right. I'm just trying to think logistically how you would keep track of all of that all the time. So that's why I would want it more electronic. And I was wondering if there was like a legal reason why you don't do it electronic.
So every time that we've been sued, our paper contract has held more weight than electronic.
Okay.
So yeah, last time we got sued with the broken nose, the attorney was like laughing because he couldn't believe that we had a paper contract as what we did both. He was like, but that's what they used in court. They literally went through each page of the contract and was like, you said this, you said this. And I think just with technology and stuff, like it's a good, backup.
Thank you.
And you got to think about it this way, like this is your business, right? What happens if you cancel your booking software, ERS, BCN, IO? Do you know their terms and conditions? Do you know how long they hold on to that data for you? Do you know if, their servers are sufficient enough to hold, hundreds of thousands of documents, and that if you need them in the event that you need them, and I have no idea because I've never asked, because I take accountability for myself. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want somebody in control of my business. So I take precautions on my end to make sure that I have everything to protect myself in the event of, an accident, an injury, or whatever. Let's see. Dunk tank sheet. Okay, so I will share. Give me till next week. I will share all of this stuff. I'll put it in the success kit and then I'll link it on the Event Hawk website. So I don't have a foam contract. I really, really need one. I'll see if I can get one. I will share the concession sheet, dunk tank sheet. That's super easy. We had a kid put his hand in the snow cone machine. Luckily, he didn't get hurt and the mom was a nurse, so she was fine about it. That would be a no. Let's see. John says, will it be good to put items customer receiving on this signed contract as proof of delivery? So my customer acknowledgement in the top corner, I write the unit, the balance, and the pickup, the anticipated pickup date. And then they sign like down the paper, the receipt of delivery. So I do try to kind of document as much as possible. I know you guys are probably like, Jana's a freak, but when you've been sued and you did nothing wrong, like I cover as many bases as I possibly can. John, I do think that is really important. Because you don't want them to say like, I got this so-called machine and I didn't get it. And that kind of stuff. So you want them to sign off as like receiving everything 100%. Josue, proof of delivery is just basically that. It's them taking possession of the equipment, acknowledging that it's in good working condition. And that mine actually says like no refunds after delivery. If you look in the success kit, which is the left side of the Event Hawk dashboard, the customer acknowledgement has the proof of delivery in it. I'm pretty sure there's also a separate proof of delivery as well. If you want something just like a full page, Yadira, yes, I did have an attorney review my contract. What software to manage scan copies of originals? Darian, I keep all my originals. So, I do have something else called, let's see, it's called something scanner. I love it. It's an app on my phone. It turns anything into a scanned document. It's called Mobile Scanner PDF. So sometimes like if somebody says like, oh, I didn't sign that or whatever, I'll literally take a picture of the paper and it will send a digital copy to them. So that is good. Like I said, left side of the Event Hawk dashboard in the success kit, it is there. Using the term competent person is an important term to use in a contract, such as people using the snow-cone machine. I would agree. Competent is kind of up for discussion, I think.
That's what I was gonna say. Competent just opens you up to who's competent.
Yep. No, and I, again, like, in my contract, it says like can't be under the influence of alcohol. That's a huge thing that comes up quite a bit. Like when we were sued this last time with the girl with the broken nose, the fact that there was alcohol at the party, was a part of the deciding factor of how much like a liability the homeowner took, because he had said that he was going to provide, an attendant that was not under the influence. And every person that they interviewed for the deposition said that they had been drinking. So it was like, they were like, okay, dude, you didn't even follow the rules,
You said eat all of it if you want cotton candy.
Let's see. Lorenzo says, okay, I really did miss everything due to my job. I have yet to get insurance because of the waiver contract. Best points to have in the document. Lorenzo, I will post in the party rental bosses group, like Monday or Tuesday, a link to the contract, to the waiver, and you guys can go. Well, I'll try to delete my name out of it. And then you guys could just go in and add like your name and then your specific policies about payment, cancellation, weather, that kind of stuff. And you're more than welcome to use that. Let's see. John says, will it be good to buy a scanner and scan contract in case you need to send it to anyone and keep paper copy on file? I don't think it's like super duper necessary. John, there's literally an app on I have an iPhone that you can scan or take a picture of anything and it turns it into a scan, and then you can have it email them in a PDF. Yep. And then somebody else literally just wrote that. So that's great. I was able to grab them on the website, but I thought it was longer than I thought was needed. 5 to 6 pages is normal for a bounce off contract. So mine is long because I want to cover all the bases. Like I mean, at the end of the day, it's protecting you. It's setting an expectation for your customer. And the more that you can address and have them acknowledge or sign, the better in my experience. Anybody else have any questions? You guys are making
run
this.
any promotions or do any discounts on the site? Or do you think it's bad to do that? Because I saw that as a way to get customers information.
So I have Event Hawk, and on my pop-up, I'm not sure if I can screen share. Actually, yeah, I can. On my pop-up, there is there's a discount behind it. Guess it would help if I actually showed you guys. There we go. So this little pop-up that you see says sale. Let me move the Zoom thing off of it. Click here to save, and this has a coupon behind it. So there we go. That's what I do to collect customer data or information, and then they get an automated text message once they fill this out. And then it gives me the opportunity to engage with them if they don't book on my website. So here's my current specials. Use the code HAWK to get $10 off, or use the code FREE to take advantage of free overnight. That has been
So you
working.
offer that year round?
I do. Yep. If they fill out the pop-up, that is my all the time special. I usually do free overnight I say that. I want to leave everything overnight that's going to, like be in a backyard. So that's kind of my go-to offer because it doesn't cost me anything. And then most of my customers, I would say probably like 98% of my customers take the free overnight versus the $10 off. And for the $10 off, we set the expectation that pickup has to be by 4 o'clock. So kind of by default, everybody's like, oh, we'll just take the free overnight then.
Very cool. That was another thing I was kind of curious about, if your pricing differ or how much it differs for like a 2-day rental versus a 1 day.
Yeah, I actually, I was going to make a post about this in one of the groups because I thought this was kind of funny. I had somebody book online tonight, and they booked for May 28th at 3 p.m. and ended at May 30th at 7 a.m. So like a day and a half, I guess. So it's 2 units. It was $1,100. They paid $90 for damage waiver, $20 for distance, and they left a $247 tip. So my website is like built to give them a discount for anything over, pretty much anything over like the rental period, which I think is up to 8 hours. So like the second day is, 50% off or whatever.
So your waiver for damage, did they pay a waiver fee, like a deposit?
It's 8% of the rental total, and they don't get that back. That's like a kind of like a safety for them, that if a stair rips or a handle or something like that, they're not responsible because they've opted to have the damage waiver.
So that's optional. That's not mandatory to do the rental.
It's automatically checked when they check out, but they can uncheck it.
Okay.
Let's see. Lorenzo says that works for me. I thought it was something that would have been a turnoff for renters. Will there be a live for newbies? I really have no idea what I'm doing. Yeah, Lorenzo, like if you want to shoot me a message or post in the Facebook feed, like what specifically you want to talk about or questions you have, we can absolutely do a live for newbies. I have no problem with that whatsoever.
That would
And
be
I think,
amazing.
yeah, I think even like the old timers or the OGs come to some of the newbie ones because I'm
Some good
always learning
tips.
something, you know,
Yeah.
and some people like to just help other people. So I think that that's awesome too.
Very
What
cool.
other questions? Any other questions?
So since you're so anal about the contracts, are you equally anal about like your workers' comp and like your workers?
I am.
That would be a discussion group as well.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'm super anal about everything. I've been in the industry for 13 years, so you kind of like you learn as you go and then you learn from other people. I learn from new people all the time. I learn from old people all the time. I learn from OG people all the time. Tariq and I learn from each other all the time. So I think it's, you know, kind of it's cool, you know, and the quicker that you learn how to do things the right way, the better off you're going to be. Cause like I've made a ton of mistakes. You know, I didn't have workers comp for a long time, which I wasn't required to have it, but I got audited and that was like this, that was scary. Like I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm so glad that I'm legit, but just the fact that that can happen to you. Same thing goes with like collecting sales tax and really just anything. Like again, I know it costs money and I know it's stressful and that kind of stuff, but you know, I would want somebody to, if I was doing business with them, I would want them to be a responsible business owner. So I kind of set that same expectation, you know, for myself as well. Let's see. An ironclad contract is fine when you don't have insurance. I haven't done any rentals because I'm hearing insurance. An ironclad contract does not exist. I don't care how great your contract is. I'm going to go with like 90% of the time you're going to be assigned a portion of liability just because the insurance company wants to be done with it. Like very rarely do they deny a claim, and usually some, you know, you can appeal that kind of stuff. So I personally would never operate without insurance. I've been in business for 13 years and we've had insurance from day one. It's just not worth the risk. And if you don't have insurance and your business is in your name, you risk losing everything if there is, you know, something goes wrong.
How much coverage do you recommend having for your like liability and everything?
Usually $1 million is pretty common. I think it depends on like if you do events. So like we have some like organizations that we work with that require like a $2 or $3 million policy. So I think that you know, like if you're just doing backyards, $1 million is sufficient. That's pretty standard. But if you are doing events or schools or churches, you may find some of those people have higher requirements. Alejandro says, does having a damage waiver affect your insurance, especially if we have inland marine? So Alejandro, the reality is, or my reality, because this is just my opinion, I am not an expert. Inland marine, in my opinion, is for like a mass, like devastating thing, you know, like a fire, a theft of, you know, 4 units or something. Your deductible, if you know, if you have a unit damaged or something like that, is probably close to what, you know, repair or replacement of that would be. So I have inland marine for peace of mind because I have, you know, 130 units, but my take on that, it would probably be different if I only had, 20 or 30 units. Because again, if you have like a $4,000 slide damaged, let's say, and you can repair it for $500 or $1,000 and your customer is willing to pay that and your deductible is $2,500, it doesn't really make sense, to claim it. So I think those kind of situations are just subject to really
And-
the specifics.
And inland marine doesn't cover if somebody gets hurt. That's a different insurance.
Right. Yep.
What are some insurance providers that you would recommend?
Friedman, Oliver Van Dyke, First Commercial, Casio. Those are the only ones that are sticking out like off the top of my head. Anybody else have any recommendations?
I haven't signed up yet. I was shopping around, but I keep seeing like Next Insurance come up. I don't know if anyone's used them or like knows anyone that's used them.
I'm not super familiar with Next. I'm pretty sure X Insurance does not insure inflatables. There was like a big conspiracy about that. I think it was X Insurance.
Oh, really?
Not Next, X Insurance.
No, yeah, X actually looked on their site, but it was like asking for rental contracts and all that stuff, and I didn't even, I wasn't even sure yet what to do on that. So I backed down and didn't like submit a full quote.
No, yeah, again, I think it kind of depends on, how many units you have, but I don't think X insures inflatables. I think there was, like I said, some gray area and people were paying like really cheap premiums and then they found out that inflatables were an exclusion. In Florida,
That is so crazy.
yeah, definitely. In Florida, you are exempt from workers' comp for 3 or less employees. And that does still hold up in an audit. That was my experience. So you should be good there. How do you handle damages when it's in the hands of the renter? How do you know what to charge the renter? I'm super fortunate that my repair guy is like on speed dial. So I usually can snap a picture, tell him how much the unit weighs. And he can give me like a quote pretty quick. Chris said they had a quote done through West End and Hartford as well. I think there's only like, so there are, I guess it's important to probably note that like more than likely you're going to go through an insurance agent and they're going to write the policy. And there's only like 3 or 4 insurers right now, I think, for inflatables. Let's see.
Is your repair guy
Liberty.
local, or do you have to send out your units to get repaired?
My repair guy is about an hour and a half from me, so we just drive him up. Patricia shared Liberty United Insurance in the chat. Jackie Shaw. On insurance agents, is there certain states they cover or statewide? Yeah, John, I think there's a couple that have like exclusions of where they don't write. Let's see. Lorenzo says, by the way, this has nothing to do with the topic, but I found myself in a precarious situation. I bought a bounce house secondhand from another owner, but I have no info on that unit. How do we get that info? I would make a post in the group and most people can like identify the manufacturer. Casio has been completely unresponsive for a quote on multiple occasions. Yeah, I think, well, so even my insurance guy, everybody's like slammed packed because the industry grows every year. Carriers back out and then agents stop writing. And so it's kind of like a domino effect. so again, I think like everyone that I know that's in the insurance industry is behind. No fault of their, it's just that's kind of what happens when carriers pull out. Amy says you have to keep bugging them. That is 100% correct. Let's see. Anybody else have any questions? This will be like the shortest meeting I've ever done. If you guys don't have any other questions.
Sorry, I'm eating. I'm sure I do have some more questions. I'm just stuffing my face for a second.
You are fine. Like I said, I just here to help. And then if nobody needs any help, then then we can go.
So if we want to implement your contract in IO and have it all set up, do we contact you guys or do we contact IO?
You can contact Event Hawk and we'll kind of point you in the right direction. If you want, if there's specific things that you need help with or whatever, just message in and we'll let you know if that's something that we can do. Or if you need to go to IO.
Okay.
Yadira said, how do you charge the customer for jumpers that are super dirty? Do you send customer a picture of as proof that it was dirty? And so to answer that, we take pictures at delivery. And then if something is like super dirty on pickup, then we normally get the customer if they're home, or we'll call them and then take like a video or something like that. And then we do charge. But I mean, for me to charge for something to be dirty, it would have to be like disgusting, because water and sand and dirt, it's kind of like an expectation. I mean, they would have to like make mud pies for me to charge them. We did charge a lady like $75 because her kids left like chocolate in there for Easter, and it was like, just melted chocolate like everywhere because they had deflated the unit. And it was just like, at first my guys were like, I don't even know if this is chocolate or not. But then they found like the wrappers and everything. And she paid. She was like super embarrassed. She's like, oh my gosh, I have no idea. Like, I'm so sorry. So that was kind of funny. I will share my contract in the Party Rental Bosses group next week. If you're an Event Hawk client, it's on the left side of the dashboard. There's also a success kit in the Party Rental Bosses group. If you looked at the pinned post, and there is a contract and waiver in that, you can literally like fill out a form and it'll give you like all these resources. David said he pretty much did all of his rentals tax exempt. Should he change that so it's collecting tax on it? David, it's gonna depend on what state you're in, but the majority of the states require you to collect sales tax. I think that California does not, and I can't remember off the top of my head where else.
California, they beat you to death. That would be surprising.
Yeah, I was really surprised about that too. I'm in Florida, definitely have to collect sales tax.
Oregon has no sales tax at all, ever.
Okay. Florida doesn't, but it does and it doesn't. We don't have like state tax, I guess, but we do have like, I don't think our groceries aren't taxed. I don't know, but I collect sales tax. You have to register to file and collect sales tax in Florida.
Oh, wow.
And you can get audited for that too. So make sure that you check with your state and your county to find out if you should be collecting sales tax or discretionary sales tax, where like you're supposed to collect 8%, but then there's a surcharge or a surtax and you have to collect another percent or something like that. Because getting audited, well, I've never been audited for sales tax, but my friends have, and some of them have owed a lot of money, and that is very scary.
Oh yeah. I have to look on that. So, on your wet dry combos, do you charge extra for water?
I don't. I charge the same no matter what.
Okay, I saw some people do like an extra $30 or something.
I feel like it gets like, well, you know, I guess for me, like we're in Florida, it's so hot. So if I charge
figure.
dry, like if they rent dry and then they use it wet, I don't want to fight with them over that $30. I would rather just charge them more. And then if they use it wet, they use it wet. I don't care.
Very cool.
Let's see. You mentioned sending the customer something through Square. You can send them a proof of delivery receipt through Square. That's linked to like their deposit or their payment. Or you don't even have to link it to that if you don't want to. And they can sign that electronically. Let's see. And that's called like proof of delivery receipt. Chris, 4 a.m. is going to get here super quick. Good night. Let us know if you need anything and hope you have an amazing season as well. Amy said they had a mud fight in one of theirs and they did not charge to clean up. Chris says Michigan does not require sales tax, does not require sales or use tax.
Where would I look that up? Just like on Google, or how would I find out like for
Whatever
my
state
area?
you're in, like
Mhm.
Department of Revenue.
Oh, okay.
What is the minimum and max for insurance? I would say $1 million is the minimum and max can really be like whatever you want. I mean, there's like corporations that require you to have like $5 million policies and probably 10 depending on who you're working with.
Do you take like cash or any other payment methods, or do you exclusively just book through the Square?
I do both. I take cash and I take card. So I don't really have a preference. The good thing about taking card though is if you use Square, like you can work towards like getting a capital loan where let's say you process, you know, $100,000 in a year or $50,000 in 6 months. They'll offer you, you know, a $5,000 loan that'll cost you $500 in fees. And then you just pay it back off of each transaction that you process. I know a lot of people that have grown their businesses that way, without having to, you know, use personal credit cards or take out loans or anything like that. It's just a super easy way to access capital.
But with cash, you can't really prove, right?
Right. Yep.
So do you use a bookkeeping software, or how do you keep track of all your payments if you're accepting cash?
I log it in Inflatable Office, and then I also have
Okay.
QuickBooks.
Wow.
So I'll manually enter my cash payments in IO. Let's see.
Is it okay if you're just starting out to use like a personal checking, or do you recommend like you absolutely need to have a business account before you start even doing any rentals?
I mean, the sooner you can get a business account, the better. Because if you were to ever get audited, there needs to be like a clear separation between the two. But you know, like if it was a couple of weeks or something like that, not a huge ordeal. Let's see, Rocio. Sorry if that's butchering your name. I apologize. Yes, the contract, we can share that in the Jumpstart program as well. So I'll make sure that we do that next week. I just got QuickBooks and I wanted to leave because of the craziness. Granted, I think it's more unique to me because of the lack of bookkeeping understanding. So I guess I used to love QuickBooks, but my accountant called me and he was like, I can't reconcile your QuickBooks. And there was like an outage or something for QuickBooks. And so it's like caused a whole accounting nightmare. So I don't love QuickBooks right now. Art says, I'm looking to get my first 15-foot wet, dry water slide. Should I get one with a deep pool or an inflatable pool? I'm biased. I say inflatable pool. 15-foot water slide is geared for kids, in my opinion. And, you know, if you have like a 3-year-old, let's say, right, somebody lets their 3-year-old go down, they don't weigh very much, so they go faster than the bigger kids, and they go into that pool and right underwater. All of my units that are geared for like young kids have inflatable splash pads. In my state, any like organization or facility that's monitored or under the direction of the Children and Family Services, Department of Children and Family Services, cannot have a pool at the bottom. So I'm a huge fan of inflatable splash pads. Those are my favorite. That's what most of my combos have. I think I have 2 or 3 combos that have pools at the bottom out of like 30. And then my water slides are a mix of both. Are loans a problem for new companies? Lorenzo, I'm not super familiar. I think most people fund their business startups with personal loans or equity or credit cards or whatever they may have. There are like leasing companies, but those are, I'm not a fan of those either. Those are like, you know, your interest is like outrageous. You'll end up paying like 2 or 3 times the cost of the unit. Let's see. Anybody else have any questions? If you don't, we're gonna end this thing.
If you were just starting out, what would you get? I was thinking of just starting with bounce houses only, just till we can start getting some rentals.
Don't do it.
Also, oh no,
I would recommend combos.
it's not as humid here, or not as hot. Like, it's hot here, but also we just don't have like a trailer yet too, and we don't want to ruin the inside of our SUV. How would you recommend then going about it? Just because we're just starting up, so we don't really have the means to like buy a trailer just yet.
Sure. So I feel like, and everybody else can chime in. So this, again, just my opinion. I feel like as you grow, even past just a couple of units, there's just not enough profit in a bounce house. And most people are kind of like, I don't think bounce houses are super popular. It's all the other things, the combos, the interactives, the slides, that kind of stuff. That's where you're going to make your money at. You're doing yourself a disservice unless that's going to be like what you specialize in, if that's like highest demand. But I have bounce houses, I have combos, and my bounce houses are usually the last thing to rent.
Okay, I was gonna ask if you don't have any at all that are just bounce houses, if every single thing you had was a combo or a water slide.
Yeah, I mean, and please guys, you know, somebody else chime in, but I don't think
Where is she located?
California. So that's my thing too, is like I know it does
Because
get
I'm
hot here.
like more north, or
Central
because
Valley.
I'm like, yeah, I'm in Rhode Island, and I mainly have combos. I do have one bounce house that does go out every now and then, but I don't really like to have it go out because my combos can make me an additional like 125 to like 175 for pretty much the same amount of work.
Mhm.
So I try
My
to.
concern kind of mainly was transporting right now too.
So now I was gonna say about transporting is we were using our Highlander with like a 5x8 trailer. We quickly outgrew that, like pretty much within a week. So then we ended up just renting U-Haul trailer. like a 6x12 for pretty much the
Mhm.
whole season at that point, like every week. And it's like $35 a day or whatever. That's an option depending on like what vehicle you use. But there's
Mhm.
definitely rental options. Even if you have to rent like a truck with the trailer, there are options there. While get other unit last minute, you don't really have that option.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about that too. Yeah, guess you'd have to go like every weekend. So you said, do you rent a U-Haul like long term? So you would rent it out for like months at a time?
I know, in the very beginning, it was more like case by case, but then it got to the point where it was just every weekend I had it for like that weekend based on like what the rental was. Now I have like my own like enclosed trailer and stuff, but I still probably utilize it when I have like a second driver going out or more
Do you
until if
guys
I
feel like,
decide to get like another.
do you feel like an enclosed trailer is better versus the open ones? Because I see a
I
lot
don't
of
necessarily
people
think
use
so. I had
just the cargo ones.
the utility.
Yeah, the utility, there you go.
Yeah, so I went with the enclosed because I also needed some additional storage through like the winter as well,
Mhm.
or something to kind of keep some units dry. But I think the open trailers are better in my opinion and much easier,
Mhm.
especially if you in the future have other drivers. Enclosed trailer is kind of huge. I like the enclosed trailer, but I think going forward, I'm probably just gonna mainly get open trailers and just keep that one enclosed just in
Yeah,
case.
yeah, because then you can get up in there and like load a dolly or whatever and get them off, you know? I feel like it would be a little, I don't know. That's what I was kind of debating too, but yeah, very early
Especially now
stages
that I
still.
have a dunk tank, I never realized how huge a dunk tank is until you fit it in an enclosed
Are
trailer.
those
It
very
takes up
like,
pretty much the whole thing.
do you get many rentals? Like, are they worth investing for the dunk tank?
I only have one, and I probably have like 7 bookings in the future right now. It's pretty popular. I just wouldn't get
Like,
another one based on the fact that it's huge and just takes up a lot of space for me.
gotcha. Through the colder months, does it really get rented out?
No, not at all. We're
Not
like
at all.
6 to 8 months like season wise. Like we just picked up in April.
Very cool. That's so exciting. Hopefully,
Anybody?
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. You'll figure out a way. We put stuff like Kevin said, in the back of our SUV and a small trailer that we rented from U-Haul where there's
I might
a,
have to do that because my husband actually one of his work buddies has a bounce house business. And he said he did water slides all the time when he first started out, and he would just throw them in the back of his SUV and like completely ruin the inside of his car. So I was like, oh, I was hoping I wouldn't
right.
have to sacrifice my interior, but I've got 3 kids. They already do a number, but
Right.
Yeah.
What's a little better? It beats curdled chocolate milk,
Yeah, or stale nuggets. Yeah.
All right. So
Trying to think-
Rocio says, is insurance on your pool different than inflatable insurance? Yes. Any kind of like mechanical, bungee, rock wall, zip line, anything, that is different than an inflatable is gonna more than likely increase your premium.
Does your inflatable insurance, does that cover, or did they reimburse you for like repairs and stuff, or is it solely just for like liability, injuries,
Just for
property
injury,
damage?
damage to property. Yep.
Hey, can I butt in?
Of course, Vanessa.
Oh, I'm so
So
sorry.
I was blowing Jana's phone up for a second because I was watching on Facebook, and it looks like, bear with me because I didn't recognize names and whatnot, but there's another Jana on here and you're in a different part of California.
Yes, that's me.
Okay, so I'm in Northern California, and as I was listening, I was yelling at my phone because I'm in California also, and
That's
Jana's
awesome.
100% right. Don't go with 13 by 13s. I have been in business for almost 4 years now. We bought our business from a previous owner. When they purchased all of their stuff, they had 3 13 by 13s and 2 dry combos only. And where I'm at, well, where they were located, which is about an hour away from me, it gets, high 80s, low 90s. They didn't want anything to do with water slides. This a few weekends ago was the very first weekend in the entire time I have owned the business that all of my 13 by 13s were out. Outside of that, in almost 4 years, I get, if I'm lucky, 1 rental on them a weekend.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's really turning some gears for me. See, I was thinking of how can I get more units at lower cost to get some revenue going, but then I also don't want to like invest and then have them sit and never rent out because it's hot majority of the year, where we are. We hardly have winter most of the time, except for like this year was like a freak year.
Yes. I feel you there.
I live like near Fresno.
Where I'm
if
at, we got
I'm sure you know Fresno.
Yep, we're more north. We're like about 2 hours north of San Francisco. And we got
okay.
12 inches of snow, which we never get. But if you want, you can message me. I'm in California.
Okay, that's so cool. Yeah, it's really cool. Or you're probably in the group on Facebook, huh? The
Yeah.
party rental bosses. Okay, sweet.
Yep.
It's really cool to be able to connect all over though with everybody, just to get everybody's 2 cents and be able to pick everyone's brain is extremely, extremely helpful. Yeah, I appreciate any tips. If anybody has any tips on anything, besides rental contracts, I'm totally like a sponge right now.
I mean, she does have a really awesome name too, so that helps a lot.
You are amazing too. I remember I had joined a small group and you commented to me to join the group that you're in. And so I did, and that's when I like got into Event Hawk and everything. Sorry, I have a
No, you're
4-month-old
fine.
too, so I'm like, oh, he's not happy anymore, but I appreciate it. It's been just like hitting the jackpot with information. It's been extremely helpful in the group. And Event Hawk is just awesome. I'm signed on with them, so they're helping, get the website up and running and everything. So I really appreciate it. You really helped me get in here and get everything.
Well, we're always happy to help, and all of our people are happy to help, and even people that aren't our people yet are happy to help. We're all
about people that were your people,
or people that were our people.
I appreciate it. Everyone's time. It means a lot to me. Yeah.
And there's not a whole lot of women, so I love that you're a girl and girl power. Not that these guys on here aren't awesome, but
I'm gonna make my husband haul these around.
Yeah.
He's gonna roll them
You
out.
can just be the
probably.
boss. That's what we're the bosses.
I'll tell him how to roll it. Yeah.
Let's see. All right. Anybody else have any questions before we wrap up?
Wait, who? Stephanie? Who?
I'm sure it's Stephanie Fulton. It's gotta be.
I know. So,
do you consistently do lives?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Usually a couple a month. So there are other members of the Event Hawk team that will start doing lives. So Tariq will do one at the end of this month. Our growth strategists are Frank and Lionel, and they'll be doing one. Somebody will do one next week. Somebody will do another one the week after. I usually do 2 or 3 a month. I'll do the most. So That's just my thing. And we all kind of just meet here. Sometimes we talk about specific things. Sometimes we want to talk about.
Mhm.
But yeah, we'll always post in the Party Rental Bosses group and the event. Well, actually, I don't even think I posted in the Event Hawk group this time. Mostly the Party Rental Bosses group, and just, welcome everybody. Sometimes we'll do something exclusive for just Event Hawk members, and we'll post that in that group.
Mhm.
Amy says she likes Wednesdays better than Tuesdays. Is today what? Yeah, I think the other
It's
guys, they
Wednesday,
like Tuesday, and I like Wednesday because I need to have like all my things done before I can like dive in. So the other guys probably do Tuesday, but I like Wednesday. So we'll stick with Wednesday, Amy.
So do you think I
Well-
should get any bounce houses at all, or just go combo all the way? Because you mentioned you have some that rent out sometimes. So should we get any at all, or just like ditch that idea?
My vote is combos only. Amy
Okay.
just voted. She's combos only.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna say 1 13 by 13.
Vanessa's gonna
One.
say one
I know
bounce house.
there's some people that are looking for a bargain too. That was kind of my thinking. That, oh yeah, this one's cheaper than all the other ones. But
So I'm gonna say that's the reason I don't like the castles, is because I get the people that want the cheaper ones. They don't treat it as nicely. They don't care about it. They're the worst customers. And I'm just gonna say that without trying to hurt anybody's feeling. I grew up poor. I have nothing against poor people. Like, I don't care what your income is, but typically the people that go for the cheapest item are not my best customers.
I agree with that 100%.
I
agree
yeah,
too.
I agree. Thanks for the honesty, because I'm just starting out. I'm trying to have as
You'll
smooth
make-
sailing as I can, and I don't want to
you'll
invest
make
in
more
units that are
money.
going to be trashed by people or just sit there and not rent.
You'll make more money with combos. The chat, everybody in the chat that's replying says combo, then a slide. Somebody else just said combos as well. And I agree with Amy 100%. The price shoppers that are looking for like the deal, those are not going to be your ideal customers. Those will
Mhm.
usually be like your worst customers. Not that the higher end customers aren't, bad occasionally, but I definitely think that the lower end, they just, I don't know. That's just been my experience as well. So, your return
I
on
call them
investment.
I call them filler rentals. So like
Uh-huh.
when your guys have nothing better to do,
Like,
you
I
can
might
just throw
wiggle.
in the basic one.
Yeah. Hey, I'll run a
If you
room.
got payroll, you ain't making money off of it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Our winter is cold here. We're in Oregon, so we get cold winters, and we are just now starting to pick up. But the only things that go out in the wintertime is castles, because they have to rent an indoor facility somewhere. So I do
Mhm.
have castles because of that, but that's the only reason I have them, because they have to rent a facility to have their birthday parties inside in the wintertime. So then they're already paying for the facility, and then they have to pay for a bouncer on top of that. So they usually go for the castles. So that's the only reason I have castles. But if I didn't have that problem, I wouldn't have castles. If I was in Southern California, I wouldn't have castles.
Yeah, I'm central, but it still gets pretty dang hot here, so I will say. I was
Janet,
gonna ask
did you
another question.
join- Did you join Jumpstart, the Jumpstart
I
program?
did.
Okay.
Mhm.
You'll get a ton of information. So when you start watching those videos, you'll get
I
a lot
did
of
dive into
information.
some.
Okay, awesome. About the, the inventory and that kind of stuff as well. I think that'll help you. More people are saying combos. I think that'll
I had a
help you
question on
kind
the
of
tip of my
understand.
mind. I lost
Yeah,
it.
I know. We're here.
I lost it. My brain is like a train with a million tracks. So I'm like, where did it go? I can't remember what I was gonna ask.
You're good. Ben says, do you use tarps for every rental? Ben, I
Yes.
use tarps for no rental. I am anti-tarp. Okay. So
Oh, really?
only if it's like on dirt and I charge for the tarp, or concrete or something, asphalt will tarp. but like in a normal backyard, we're not tarping.
That's interesting because I seen like Nick Glassett, he's like, I use tarps every time for everything. So I was like, oh, I kind of thought, and then I thought also, does it damage the bottom? Like if you don't use tarps?
No.
Only if it's concrete?
Yeah, like anything
you-
that's like a, like a, I don't even know what to call it, but not like a smooth surface, I would put a tarp down.
We
Okay, that's
didn't use
interesting.
tarps for a long time, and then we started doing tarps and it helped with the cleanup. That's the only reason I did the tarps. So we didn't do tarps for a long time, thought they were a long extra time, pain in the butt. But we actually switched to tarps for us. But
So
it's whatever works for you guys.
when it's flat surface, do you guys use sandbags or water bags, or like how do you weigh everything down if you can't do stakes?
We use sandbags.
Sandbags.
Yeah, and
Are they better than water, or have you tried water?
sometimes you don't have access to water. A lot of the times when we use
Oh.
sandbags, we're indoors somewhere, so I don't really want to be putting bags of water inside anywhere.
Yeah.
I do know people that use water bags though.
Okay.
I talked to insurance at one point and they said if you use water bags, sometimes they won't cover it because if God forbid one of them drain out and you don't know,
Mhm.
now that's an anchor point that's not anchored because the water bag's empty.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
Let's see. Somebody said we tarp Rocio. I'm butchering this poor person's name. We tarp everything, but we're in West Texas. Every setup is dirt. Becca
Oh.
says, and add that service fee. So we charge for dirt, we charge for concrete, we charge for like gravel, shell. Like if we set up on shell, we usually like lay cardboard down first.
Really? Okay.
Because we're in Florida and there's a lot of shell. And then with the tarps, like it just like cleaning them, it just became like a whole nother job. So we haven't used tarps in like 12 and a half years unless we have to.
So how much extra do you charge when it is concrete or gravel or dirt?
Dirt is 75 and concrete is 100. And if there's multiple units, then that price goes up.
That's crazy. Okay. That's something I hadn't really thought about, charging extra for that, but
It's just more work.
mhm.
I started doing like a surface fee because those sandbags get kind of tough, especially with the workers that I have now. Like the 50-pound bags ends up being a lot when you have a ton of them, especially if
Yeah,
you're trying to secure it correctly and not just 150-pound per anchor. It becomes a lot.
And space on your trailer, extra weight on your trailer, like all the things, it's just a lot more work.
So out here in California, because we've been going through such a huge drought, I would say about 90% of the time we have to sandbag because you physically cannot stake. I would say out of all of our stakes, we maybe have 5 straight stakes and they don't drive in. So we sandbag all the time.
Challenge accepted.
That I was thinking too is good because then you don't have to worry about puncturing somebody's sprinkler lines.
So you would ask a question, sorry, but I don't know which Kevin that was, but your comment was very funny.
Yeah, I know
If
which
you-
Kevin it is. I don't even have to know. He's the Kevin that's awesome. He gets 5-star reviews.
Mm,
Well, we all get
I'll have
5-star
to-
reviews.
Not to mention our names.
I'll have to think about that one.
It's
Um,
funny, Janet, because I actually decided to kind of start implementing that, like, hey, make sure you mention my name, even though I'm one of the owners. But
That's hilarious. Hey, I
That's
love
funny. Do you use booking software? Forgive me, California Jana.
it.
I already
I'm
know
signed
the
with Event
feeling.
Hawk, so I am gonna have
Okay.
that. inflatable office, and it's interesting because it's crazy. I looked around and a lot of the sites like in my town or in my area, like they don't have anything like that. It's like people just have a site just to be listed. Like if you click
Yep.
on there, it literally is like their name and just like a few pictures of bounce houses. And then I was really baffled because you can't even find the prices on there. On like 95% of them, they want you to call for prices. They don't even put the
Yep.
prices out there. So I found that really
That-
crazy. I would be the only site within quite a lot of area to offer that.
Yep, that's how my area is too. I actually used to be a part of the Event Hawk team, so I do know a lot about it. But I was going to say that with the on your booking software, there's going to be an option where you can have it say grass allows stakes or grass no stakes. So obviously grass no stakes, meaning they probably have irrigation lines running through there. You would have sandbags.
I'm almost wondering if it's better just to buy the sandbags and not do stakes at all. Or do you think, I don't know, do stakes provide more stability?
You'll want stakes. Definitely want stakes. Chelsea,
What size is the
you
good size
watching?
to get? Because I see different size ones. I see them as long as like 2 feet. I'm like, geez, do you really use, or like the corkscrew ones that twist in?
I
If
wouldn't
you
recommend using the
buy
twist. I would
from
go ahead.
go ahead.
I was just going to say check with the manufacturer to see what they recommend, because sometimes it's different based on the size of the unit, what type of unit it is.
I was gonna say, if you buy from the manufacturer, they'll send you stakes.
All the ones I see are like small ones that come with that. So I figured, I guess most of them just take like 12-inch or so.
I think mine were 18 and like what, over a half-inch thick. I don't know. I don't measure
Yeah.
them.
18 to
It
20.
should all be the 18, right?
Yeah.
I've never received any that weren't, but they can be the 1/2 inch or the 5/8. I
5/8.
don't like using the 1/2 inches at all.
No.
Like it's 5/8, so I'm higher.
Yeah, same here.
Okay. Have you ever had times where you did puncture somebody's sprinkler lines?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
How did you handle that? Was that just like your insurance? You did an insurance claim, or like how do you handle
No, it's
that?
usually it's pretty easy to fix. Yeah, I mean, if your husband's handy, otherwise you can, pay a plumber a couple $100, but I think Nick Glassett did a video. I think he did, or I told him to do a video. I can't remember, on how to fix one. So it's just like PVC pipe, like glue, cement glue. I don't know what to call it. You just cut it and then you kind of, I don't know, Kevin, you're a dude. You know how to explain this better than I do. Help me out here, friend.
I would YouTube it, but it
There
seems
you
like
go.
it's actually pretty easy to do.
Yeah, super easy. $20 fix versus $300 plumber.
Yeah.
I'll see if Nick did a video. If he did, I'll post it. If not, we'll make a video and do it. But super easy fix. Your biggest issue would be like if you hit like a main water line or something like that for like your city or county. That's like a whole nother story. But you would just call them and they would shut the water off, or whatever. Highly unlikely, but definitely anything is possible in this industry. Let's see. So Zippy put in the group chat, Nick and Justin recommend these Monk Industry hook style 18-inch stakes, and he put a link. So that
So
is
18-inch for like most of the units you think are the better way to go?
yeah, and the water slides, like the tethers on the side, those take like bigger like tent stakes. Let's see, there's a cutoff at the street for you to turn off the water. You just need a key. And yeah. Well, guys, it is getting late. I appreciate all of you. You are amazing. I am going to end this live and then watch out for hopefully we'll announce this tomorrow or Friday, the round table for next week.
Okay, thank you all for all the information. Super duper
Yeah.
helpful. I appreciate it.
Have a great night, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Jana.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.